Ken Campbell,
The Seekers Podcast.
Not a holiday, more not a holiday, more not a holiday. Walkabout, snell speed, day long, lies one, half one, belong, everyone, something, bugger up, dead, finish yet, time.
Greetings, Seekers, and hilarious.
welcome to Ken Campbell, The Seekers Podcast, hosted by me, Daisy Campbell, Ken's daughter, and David Bramwell.
Ken Campbell was one of a kind. An unconventional performer, wordsmith, theatre director, comedian, trickster, and creative powerhouse. For this unique series, we'll be plundering Ken's archive to bring you the best recordings of his one-man shows, as well as other selected treats. So Daisy, in our previous episode, Ken ended part one of Pigspurt being told to carry on up his own arsehole by David Daniel.
Yes, who's actually become the big man chief Blong Fokwire Island. Yes, since he went off in search of Ken Dodd across the South Pacific.
That's good. I like your pigeon.
Ah, yes.
Accent
Well,
there.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, well, me and my dad translated Macbeth together into Macbeth, and I often played Lady Macbeth, known as Cook Blong Macbeth.
And you had to learn the whole of the play, didn't you?
Oh yeah, with Pigeon Macbeth, the whole cast had to learn the entire show, and then at the beginning of each night we'd do a kind of haka, and the audience would pick the cast based on who they thought the ancestors were moving through tonight. Okay, so we have Pigspurt Part 2.
This is just a small portion actually, of my collection of the works of the late American author Philip K. Dick. That's because I'm what's known in science fiction circles as a dickhead. We dickheads are divided into two camps, as those will tell you. It's just only read the books before 1974, the ones he wrote before 1974. Don't read the rest of the crap. No. It's the ones after 74. Get into there. Don't bother with the rest, you see. Why this unhealthy schism? It's because it was in 1974 that Philip K. Dick had the pink light experience, where Philip K. Dick did in fact encounter the almighty God, or whatever it's something else. Sometimes he writes it as being bathed in living knowledge. That post-74 work, VALIS, is an acronym for Vast Active Living Intelligence System. And hey, I'll throw a dickhead out there, chum, I've got this. The Selected Letters of Philip K. Dick, 1974, i.e. only the letters that he wrote the year of the pink light, yeah? And it's £39.95, I'm quite right, he has to keep the wankers off it. For the kids, probably this one is a good start. Divine Invasions, A Life of Philip K. Dick, by Lawrence Sutton. And we met Lawrence Sutton's an American who knew Dick in the last few years of Dick's life. And wonderfully, he flew over to the annual East London Dickheads Bash. And it was Lawrence who told us about Philip K. Dick and the snuff. Evidently, Dick was into snuff in a big way. He's a big man as well, big man, a beard and everything like that. And he'd be regaling the lads with new theories about what the fuck had happened to him in 1974, right? And he got all these tins of snuff in different flavours, about 9 or 10 tins, different flavours. Snuff comes in different flavours. And he'd be going from one tin of snuff to the other. I was telling the guys, like that. And Lawrence described him as being covered in sniz. Wow. I've never seen a hero like that before. Covered in sniz. Wow, really. And I thought, well, I'm never going to excite my audiences to anything like the degree that Dick has excited me. I've probably got to get into snuff, yeah? And I thought, well, be fun, wouldn't it? If after I'd gone, people said, "What did you ever see him? Did you ever actually see Campbell?" I said, yeah, I did. And what was he like? He said, well, he was covered in sniz. And if you really want to get into anything, you find it's round the corner. It's been round the corner for years. And in Patel's the newsagent, they've been grinding up snuff. They grind up any flavour you like. I found that mentholated snuff was my chap. Hey. Now listen, throw away the fags, throw away the manners, boys. Snuff, that is the big hit. Hey. And I was along the, just that pub along the Lee, the Anchor and Hope, that's my local. And I was in there, and I was demonstrating to Les, the landlord, the flash art of snuff taking. When into the bar came our local star, Buster Bloodvessel, the head of the Bad Manners cop group, and Buster's like the laughing Buddha on one side, and like Boris Karloff in Grip of the Strangler on the other. Buster entered the bar enantiodromically, and the humour went, chew! He might have stuffed him! Blasted all the snuff everywhere. Oh, really, I'll have to go and get some more now. And, but not to worry, because that day Buster had this little runaround boy who was doing everything for him on a BMX. And so he told the guy to go to hotels, how to get the stuff. You have to be sure to get it ground up with a menthol and everything. I gave him the right money. A long time later I learned this, that little lad spent some of my money on comics and bought some bubble gum. So he got lightweight of snuff. And on the way back, I guess, we'd been worried about this maybe. He, and passing a dried up dog turd, roughly the same hue, he snapped the tip off and crumbled it into the bag. I just crumbled it into my tin. I said, Les, have you had an incontinent doggy? Dog shit something. Les said, I can't smell anything. I said, hear your nose with that. He said it's good stuff. And then that Buster's drummer came in. He said, what are you guys doing down there? Les said there's a dog shit somewhere. When I got back home, I felt a bit Philip K. Dicky. And you know how you go into the bathroom to see if you're ill. and then I had a revelation. And I couldn't wait for the pub to open again. It was at 5 o'clock, that place. And I was along there. I said, Buster, boys. I said, look at my nose. I said, try and divorce my nose from the rest of my face. And what does it remind you of? And Buster said, Smuggler's Coves. I said, no, don't look up the nostrils. I said, no, I've been looking more at the body of the nose, the body of it. I couldn't get anything. Look, I said, is it not a naked lady from the rear? There's the cleavage of her buttock tail, and there's her thighs a wee bit spread. There's her back, and you can't see her hair because she's washing it. And I got it. It's like, quite a turn on your nose. And there was tasteless humour about the pubes. It made me we're self-conscious about my nasal hairs now. We lick the things every morning. For the same reason I keep the bits in a jar. And he knocked at the door, it's Buster. And Buster had a vision. He said, it's Cinderella, Ken. I said, what is? He said, your nose is. He said, it's a Cinderella thing. He said, it's Cinderella and the slipper. He said, what do you want to do? You want to comb the land for her whose arse matches your nose. He said, and then slipper one. He said, I've got a song coming on. It's kind of seductive notion. It's just a silliness to begin with, people that come round and get a bit pissed, you get the Polaroid out. Will it be you, my dear? It's just I don't think it would have gone any further than that. If it hadn't have been for the coming of Dick's exegesis. Now, Philip K. Dick, a prolific man. He wrote 40 novels before 1974. Then there was the Pink Light, and he only wrote 3. But he wasn't being lazy. He was writing every night. Every night he was typing away there into the night. But most of this stuff wasn't for publication. It was like letters, but not letters to anybody. Letters maybe into the very depths of himself, perhaps. And he called this stuff his exegesis. And when he died, he left behind about 4 million words in bundles of boxes. Lawrence Sutton has now read it all, and Lawrence sent me this, which is the selections from the exegesis, the publication of the first fragment from the legendary exegesis of Dick. And Lawrence warned me that before you attempt to get into this, to be sure to read the selected significant terms at the back first, the glossary. And otherwise you won't make head nor tail of it, he said. And that's where I found that one. Enantiodromia. Enantiodromia is a sudden transformation into an opposite form or tendency. The term was first used by Heraclitus, but Dick first became familiar with it through his reading of C.G. Jung. That's Carl Gustav Jung of the Jung and Freud team. So there we are. So I'm only the fourth person to use it, I guess. Heraclitus, then Jung, then Dick, and now me. Enantiodromia. Maybe we've got a bit out there. We have to learn to say it. Enantiodromia. Dimethoxyphenylphenamide. Got me anyway, really. But actually, this is more to the point. Point here is on the next page. Pigspurt. For Pigspurt, see plasmate. Not an awfully difficult thing to do, it's the next word. Plasmate is literally living knowledge. Dick often felt that he had bonded with it in 1974, and that as a result there dwelled within his psyche what seemed to be a second, entirely other self. At times, Dick believed that the identity of this second self was the late James A. Pike, incidentally Bishop Pike, the heretical Bishop of California who came to believe that Jesus was a mushroom. With them being friends in the mid-1960s. At other times was posited an early Christian named Thomas. Here we go. Yet another identity posed by Dick was Pigspurt, a malevolent force that had filled him with fear and a craven attitude toward governmental authority. But it should be noted that Pigspurt was seldom mentioned. Dick rarely regarded this second self as malevolent. He most often regarded it as the living transmission of the Gnostic goddess Saint Sophia, Holy Wisdom. Another name coined by Dick for this holy wisdom was Firebright. I thought, well, one thing's sure, I'm going to nip this word enantiodromia, my enantiodromic approach to drama, yes. I'll call it in with that. Oh, and there was a knock at the door, and it was Buster's drummer. Buster had become more obsessed with my nose than I was. He'd knocked this up for me, which is a little place for her to live. You see, it's a little set in a little boudoir with a dressing table and mirror.
I'm sticking my nose through a hole in the box, so it actually looks like the naked lady sitting down in front of a mirror.
Pigspurt! It would be true to say that there was now a most decided nasal excitation to life. As if sometimes I feared it was something worse, nasal infestation. That somewhere along the line I had allowed into the nose some sort of demonic urge. Maybe the demon Pigspurt had now taken up residence in the nose, and I was now literally being led by the nose. Any right to warn you that we now reached the point in the proceedings which Claire Armitstead of The Guardian found bemusingly unfunny. The Adventures of Pigspurt. This, of course, is a map of Greater London, but more significantly for us this evening, these maps and pins denote my major nasal adventures across the capital. Of course, I would very often argue it to myself in this way that it was was research. That I was researching what would undoubtedly turn out to be a major classic British erotic nasal novel. Where is such a thing? I mean, the French threw down the gauntlet with Cyrano de Bergerac. The Italians replied with Pinocchio. Anyway, it'll be called The Adventures of Pigspurt. And what, pray, Campbell, we find in them pages? Well, let's just have a look at some of the research first, shall we? Location 14. Location 14 is Finsbury Park. It's the actual park of Finsbury Park. I just this would be my usual headgear for a night on the snout. And anyway, there's a not unpleasant cafe in Finsbury Park. Certainly the coffee's drinkable. And I got into a chat with a young woman, she's back in her mid-30s. Anyway, apropos not a lot, I said, have a look at my nose. Does it make you think of anything? And no, she just looked like a nose to her. Oh yeah. Anyway, then I pointed out the secret of it. the cleavage and the thighs and whatnot. And she was a bit tickled, so I was out, and I out to the car and I brought in the boudoir box. And then I told her about my scheme, about how I was combing the land for her, whose arse matched it, and she was up for it. Whoopee! And we were round the back of the toilets with the Polaroid. And then one thing led to another. While we were in the middle of this, I thought, fuck, I know the name for this. This is cunny Nose-arse, wow! And then we looked at the limbs akimbo like the flesh wings of an aircraft. And me, I was like Biggles or something, and more of my poem. I started broadcasting more of my poem up the fundamental orifice like it was some sort of intercom. Here come the schnozzle. Who's the schnozzery? Whoa! And then I was subject to a roaring of foam. Whoa! Boom and boom. That's like ejaculation. I mean, it wasn't like I snotted up, nothing like that. It's like there was a pinnacle blowhole, miraculously, momentarily formed for the occasion. Boom, like that. It's like, oh, I haven't made her pregnant, She'll give birth to a bogey baby or something. I looked out and there was the park keeper. When I got back, the front door was swinging wide open and there was no one in. And I'd been burgled. They'd taken the television set, they'd taken the video recorder, they left me the remote. And they'd taken the word processor. That's sort of good news, that. But they'd taken a load of my papers, including the Pigspurt diaries. And in Homerton police station, the duty officer, when there was no one around, he said, if you take my advice, Mr. Campbell, he said, you'll leave the area. He said, otherwise, he said, you'll wind up dead one night. Or worse. Not everyone here is your friend. When I got back home, it bust the blood vessel and the whole buggering band burst in because Buster had now written the song of my nose. Yeah, and he was going to be launching it that night in the George Roby pub in Finsbury Park. There's no one to get. I was picked up by the band, carried out in some sort of triumph to the Blue Transit and off to the George Roby. Can you put that, not the snorting one, the other one on, Buster's tape? Yeah. Anyway, there comes a moment I've been dreading, where the spotlight fingered me out. And there was Buster. It was like he was broadcasting all down my nose.
Some arseholes turn the music up too loud here. But what I'm saying is that as Buster's song was playing, I actually spot the womanly posterior that matches my nose.
Oh, no! Blood everywhere. I mean, I suppose that the fiancé of the phenomenon had would have realised, what was going on in my head. Oh, and I was carted out off to Homerton Hospital. And the specialist there, and he said, it's a mess, Mr. Campbell. He said, you're going to need rhinoplasty. Rhino. But apparently rhinoplasty is just the word for fixing your nose up. But he said you could have it done like anything you like now. But when he said that, there was this chunky little nose called Tracy. And Tracy was, she was filling in some sort of medical thing. I said, can I be done like that? It's really quite simple, Tracy. We became good friends. Just friends. There's nothing nasal about this. When I got let out of the hospital, then Tracy said that her mother wanted to meet me. Listen. I think if you've got a mother like Tracy, you should give a bit more warning than she gave. Tracy really quite short. Her mother Olive really quite tall. And the first meeting it is, Olive embraced me warmly. She kissed me on both cheeks, and then she said, when you go to Australia, go to Perth as well as Sydney, but I'm thinking of Canada. You're going to Canada first, aren't you, dear? Why am I getting donuts? She said you've been very lazy about the Caribbean, haven't you, dear? I said, I don't ever think about it. She said, what a shame. She said, I could see you on the island of Curacao, I could see you in Suriname, I could see you in Guyana. When you go to Guyana, ring this telephone number, Georgetown 72629. She said, but you've got other islands in mind at the moment, haven't you, dear? 6 Pigs from Happiness, is that a song? She said, and what did happen to David? I said, what is this? Oh, she said, I don't know where I get anything from, dear. She said, well, is it any help to you? Anyway, I rather got into Tracy's mum, Olive. Olive, I loved her tipple. some nights we swam together. And Olive took a deal of interest in the figurines. It was Olive's opinion that the figurines represent an attempt at a communication by the late Captain Charlie Charrington. She said, what was the first one you found was what dear? I said, well, the dog dragon. She said, and what was the first thing you thought of? I said, well, I saw the face of Captain Charlie Charrington. She said, well, there you are, dear. She said, that's the captain saying, dear Kenneth, this is your captain speaking. She said, then you found the leg. She said, no, she said, is there anything wrong with your legs, dear? I said, well, I have to do that every now and again. She said, well, maybe you should be doing it more, I don't know. She said, but then, she said, the shrieking monk. She said, really clear what the captain's saying with the shrieking monk. What he's saying is, I have things of theological importance for you, but I am gagged. You must seek to remove the captain's gag, dear. And you'll do that by way of your legs, no doubt. She said, maybe you've got to go on a hiking holiday, I don't know. She said, oh, maybe you've got to consider legness. Drape your leg. She said, who's Sophie? Olive said, she said, I think it's all very clear, isn't it, dear? She said, just everything is telling you it's time now to soft pedal on this rather alarming side of your personality. Squire Pigspurt side. It's time now to be stressing your softer, your Sophie side. And she had the goodness, whenever she was round now, Olive, she would always sit on the right of me and to draw out my Sophiness from me. But then one evening, she said this is how she phrased it. She said, a shop has just come in, dear. She says, round the back of Euston Station. It's in a road that begins with E. And this shop, she said, is next door to the bookmakers. She said, you'll think it's a television repair shop. She said, go in there. There's a lady in there. She's something of a healer. You may be able to help you, dear. Tell her that you're having spiritual counselling. The name of this shop is Transformation. And there's a big sign outside which says TV Wear. Oh, you can't see them through the windows. They're black. They're opaque. But bon, I found myself inside there that day. Then I got an easy conversation with a lady there. His name tag told us she was S. Healer. I said, I don't know what I'm doing here at all, I said, actually. I said, I'm having spiritual counselling. And I said, well, it's true that I meant to be bringing out my female side a bit more, but I said, I hadn't thought I was meant to go tarting around the town. And she said, no, I don't know. She said, you're having spiritual counselling. She said, I understand. She said, has there been a name given to your female side yet? I said, well, yeah, maybe in a sense it has, I suppose. I said, yeah, it's Sophie Firebright. She said, so Sophie would be like an older woman who's had all her babies. I said, yeah, I suppose she would, yeah. And she said, Sophie Firebright. She sounds to me like an environmental lady. She said, have a look at this. She said, this is an environmental top. I said, oh, is it? I said, what makes it environmental? She said, I don't know really. She said, but Greenpeace came in and bought 6. Apparently these simple black skirts go very nicely indeed with these environmental tops. And then she put this on me to see if it helped me towards my Sophie. I said, oh, I don't know really. I said, S Healer. I said, what's the S stand for? And she said, Sheila. I said, oh, Sheila Healer. No, there's a glitch in the machine when they stamped out. Just meant to be Sheila. That was all there was. She said, so you're not intending wearing any of this stuff out and about then? I said, well, no, absolutely not. I said, no. I said, I can only suppose that perhaps I meant to sit in it during my spiritual counselling sessions. But the thing is, this stuff isn't cheap, you know. I mean, environmental top is $39.99, $29.99 for the skirt that goes so nicely with it, and £59.99 for the wig. I mean, yeah, but a bra is only £19.99. Yeah, but when you get into this area, I mean, these range from £99 a pair to $350. Yeah, and then it doesn't. And no point in me thinking that I could get away with £99 ones either. Fellow of my build, I don't get any benefit at all, no feel at all, no sweet. I've got to start thinking £175. It's not going to stop there because then I'm going to need the Dow Corning medical adhesive at £29.99, and then the Dow Corning medical adhesive remover, £24.99, and then of course you need the blue stuff to rub in after you've had all this stuff on. This is an insanity. I haven't got that sort of money anyway. But what's a Barclay card for? And when I got my booty home, well, I hid it until Olive came round. I said, Olive, I said, television repair shop, and anyway, she was quite amused, but she said, come on, dear, let's see you in them then, let's see you in your sofas. Anyway, one night she said, come on, dear. She said, let's just go along to the spiritualist church. She said, so it's healing night tonight. She said, not many people go, nobody will pay you any attention in anything. Come along. All right then. I went along. Let's say about far enough there. And it's in Stamford Hill. It's that one with the high spire. You know, that sort of cow outside it. Anyway, we went in there, just a small congregation. I would say no more than 15 people there. But they've gone to a lot of attention with all the candle business. Loads of candles blazing away, and a fella there playing the organ. I sat towards the back. In the congregation there was this elderly Caribbean lady, a wee bit hunched with age, and in a white beret. That was supposed to be the white beret which had singled her out for my attention, because I went spot out people in berets, and that's because of my my chum of some years ago, Chris Langham. Because Chris Langham was always obsessed with the notion that he'd never do anything so wonderful that his name would live forever. And he went, if you wanted your name to live forever, what you've got to do, you've got to find some common or garden object which hadn't been named yet, and then you could give it your name. And then just before Christmas, he summoned everybody new to this little hall, and then he came out in front of us, and he was just wearing this little black beret, a simple black beret, and he pointed to the wisp thing at the top. He said, ladies, gentlemen, a Langham! We helped Christopher out that Christmas. We bought everyone new berets for Christmas, so we could go to Harrods and places and say, could I have a beret, please, with a particularly chunky Langham? and that's what the lady there with the white beret, her name was Ethel, actually. She got a very chunky Langham to her beret. And it became a little bit regular, this popping along on a Wednesday to the healing with Olive. And I'd say it was on about the fifth occasion we went, and Ethel wasn't there. When we came out, Olive said, I think we should go and call on Ethel, dear. I said, should we? I said, you can't be out, I'm going home. She said, come along, dear. She's a very infirm elderly lady. Now come along. All right, and so we went. This is those old people's flatlets around the corner from there, and she was in bed. Ethel was just simply her old legs didn't work anymore. She was in bed in her beret, and Olive said, she said, you know Sophie, don't you? Sophie Fiber, right? She said, Sophie does healing. And this is what I found coming on. I said, me begafesmally, ma begafamily, any lawyer there, magazine. Who's on the left wing, what's on the right wing? I don't know, said the fool. And I said, him, full of a day, belong you, me, two fella, push him. Little fella, soul water, one eye inside post office, latter hole, belong prayer fella, pasta, tell him, Sky Island, twinky twink, latter fella, yeah. And she looking up. I really rather impressed, and as if in a trance, I picked up the scissors and I snipped off her Langham. And then I passed her hat pin through the chunk of the Langham and I pinned it on her, making a simple crucifix. And I said, no pies. No pies? No pies for you, Ethel. Listen, there's going to be no pies when you get up there, and no pies. I kept repeating no pies until I had tears tumbling down my face. I said, no pies, unless you get up and you give us a little walk round the room. And I was massaging her old legs now, no pies, and so was Olive. Olive was now singing her all-purpose interdenominational hymn. No pies, and we got her up, and we gave her a little trot round the room, and we laid her back on the bed, and I said, Annie Wopsa Lekulef Tapuzim. We ladies must peel oranges. It was a wee bit hysterical. She said, I think you've got the gift, dear. When we got back, we polished off a whole bottle of Jameson. And Olive fell apart on the sofa. She had to stay the night. But the next week, Olive wasn't around. She'd got to do her spiritless duties in Stoke-on-Trent. And come the Wednesday, I thought, well, I think I'm old enough to go for healing on my own now. So I put my stuff on and popped off to the church. And it was fine. But Ethel wasn't there. And I thought, well, I know what Olive would like. She'd like me to call in on Ethel, make sure Ethel's all right. So I did. I called in there. She was really much improved. She was up and about. She just simply wasn't well enough to go to the healing. She was reminiscing about her girlhood, you know, about in Guyana, she called it, and she was remembering her girlhood charms. I saw what a beautiful woman she once been. And I rather felt an attack of the Pigspurts coming on. She was fiddling around, doing a bit of washing up, and I came up behind her, and I said, Ethel? And she turned round, and I said, excuse me, there is something I must do. What? And I got out of there, and it felt like I was being pursued. I was being pursued down the road. And as soon as I got in, I got this stuff. I was hiding it. I thought, but they're coming for me tonight. But even so, there was to be a moment where I halted in my disrobement, and it was to do with a phenomenon with the skirt. Dropping the skirt, you see. So I stopped, you see, because my legs look for all the world like the legs of a figurine. And just in looking across to check them out, I get a sight of my own bare bum in the mirror. And I realised 'twas my own arse I sought. What was that noise? Oh, it's me. I'm laughing like the Bishop of Colchester. And you know, I spoke earlier of being subject a wee bit to paralysis, you know, entropy of the bone marrow, brother. It sort of was setting in a bit that night, and there was a musty smell to the place, and shuffling movements, you know. Like he turned around, but he couldn't see what I was doing here. And then I sort of sensed there was a challenge in the air, you know. Well, and I started fighting to put it into words, you know. Like I was to be tested as to whether I would go for it. The unthinkable, the unspeakable. But maybe, if performed, 'twould be given to me to unscrew the inscrutable. If I did. If I would make the journey up my own arsehole. And when I came up in the room, I would still see the room, but hazily. And then I was aware I was not alone, that I had a bearded visitor. In the most unlikely place, Kenneth, he said, just as Mrs. Den told you. He said, about Mrs. Den and Miss O'Haran hit the concept round about Plum Centre. He was going round the room, he was picking up stuff, he was looking for clues, but with an authority. Man, I saw how the business might be attempted without getting a laugh. Omni vi ad Deum ducent, he said in Latin. All power flee to God. But some are quicker than others. He said, your quick way was up your own arse and you were born with the clue. I said, come along. I said, I had my nose fixed. I had rhinoplasty. I had it made to look like traces. Yes, he said, but we in our wisdom afflicted you with hemorrhoids. He said, like walking that way, the tension and whatnot, soon got your bum back in nasal harmony. Heaven and hell, he said, heaven and hell, Kenneth, are basically the same place. He said, the good go to a good part of it, the bad go to a bad part of it, the fairly nice to a fairly nice bit. Louts lout around in the lout compound, but comedians sit with me. Current favourites, Benny Hill, Eric Morecambe, and the Bishop of Colchester. Boom, 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 boom. He said, we have to keep sending the Grim Reaper down for cubs for him, though. He said, See, they only think in these extreme terms of heaven and hell because of the absurdly enantiodromic nature of my setup here. I said, wow, what? And that's it for all eternity then, is it so? He said, well, that's it till I blow the whistle, dear boy. I said, well, what happens then? He said, well, I was thinking of blowing it quite shortly, as a matter of fact. He said, after all, it's time to get stuck in some of that stuff that I let slip to St. John the Divine. He said, beasts with hundreds of eyes before and behind, and the parting of the heavens, and the moving of the mountains and the islands out of their places. But he said, how tickled I am. He said, how tickled I am that you found your way up to me so we can have this farewell theophany before the big spring clean. He said, you know, Kenneth, he said, this hint of appalling pattern that you contrived in your stories, he said, that is an intimation of the divine. I said, wow, is it really? I said, well, I said, do that, I have to bend the truth a bit, you know. I said, sometimes I put things out of their real order, I said, so sometimes I just invent things. They are nonetheless intimations of the divine, he said. I said, yeah, but then I get my God a little bit grubby and I'll get shunted to a less salubrious part of heaven. Oh, very much so, said the Lord. I said, that doesn't sound fair to me, then. I said, so what is this creation of yours, then? A cock-up, is it? A conspiracy? What is it? It is both, said the Lord. Yours is an enantiodromic world, but I disguised it. But Heraclitus tumbled it, so did Carl Gustav Jung, so did your dick. He said, but all that was manageable. He said, but then, Kenneth, you started your enantiodromic two-faced acting workshop class thingies. It was as much responsible for the need for a spring clean here as anything else. He said, if any of that stuff had got generally known, you would have unravelled the whole fabric. The basic setup here, humanity-wise, is this. The big guys get to wang between extremes, while the wankers hide in caves. I said, am I to take it then that the commandments, your commandments, are to be seen as challenges? Oh, very much so, said the Lord. Our commandments, he said, commandments, and they're just there to keep the Burkes in some sort of order. And out of the hair of the men of vision, Churchill, Maxwell, the Mongol hordes, David Donnell. I was confused. I am hinge point, he explained. That Herman Melville, he said, wrote for me, yea and nay, each hath his say, but God, he keeps to the middle way. He said, I am balance, and Satan is all around infinitely, but I am infinity, and I try everything infinitely. And the Lord had now picked up my Philip K. Dick Society Dick pamphlet. If you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. He said, thus, he said, thus anything anywhere at any one moment is absurd, and fragmentation being infinite. He said, viewed as a whole, which is a perspective peculiarly mine, is a pattern of full and infinite richness. And the Lord had now picked up my Gasmith, Ken Dodd, Laughter and Tears book. I said, we've met before, haven't we? Said the Lord. I said, no. I said, what I mean is, you've appeared to me before. And I was racking through my thoughts. I said, I know. It was you. It was you barged into my dream and told me to tell David Donnell you've got to go and see every live show that Ken Dodd gave for a year. Oh yes, I love Doddy, said the Lord. Live, he qualified. He said, I trust you approved of my intervention in his tax affairs. I thought, oh yes, certainly. I thought I'd be sus there, said God. I said, so when Ken Dodd told David Donnell he was going to his party in the New Hebrides, oh, that was me speaking through him, said God. I said, wow, so Ken Dodd's pretty important in the current scheme of things then. Oh, he always knew that, said God. I said, yes. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm a bit fox still over. I said, what's the link then between Ken Dodd and the Solomon Islands? Here's one, said the Lord, turning to page 83 of the Gus Smith book. Well, look, he said, you even underlined it. This is Doddy. This is Doddy talking directly to Gus, and he's saying, I would definitely count myself as an expert on the subject of what turns a man on. After all, I'm a professor of tickleology. But let's take the sensual bits first. With a man, certain parts of a lady have definite appeal. Some are leg men, calf men, ankle or cheek men. I'm an upper arm man and shoulder man. That's definitely one of the nicest bits. Ken Dodd was a Solomon Island cannibal in a previous life. Don't get into all that, said God. Previous lives and whatnot. He said, you're not equipped to deal with what's really going on. I said, but something like that, maybe, I said. And God was now fiddling around with my new VCR. Oh, show me how this works, he said. I said, I have to work the video on it. Oh, no, he said, you set these up to record programs up to a year ahead, you know. I said, yes, no. I said, but I've been busy. I said, I'll tell you what's worrying me. I said, this beast with all the eyes before and behind, you know, moving the mountains, the islands, St. John, the divine revelations thing. I said, is there anything any of us could do about that? He said, what, the parting of the heavens and the great poof? He said, no. He said, there's nothing to be done about that. He said, no. Well, he said, look. He said, I would hold it off only if could be found a man of good heart who would undertake to go and see every live show that Ken Dodd gave for a year. I said, anymore, sir, I don't believe in you anymore. I don't even suppose in you anymore. I said, that really is too absurd. I am infinitely absurd, said the Lord. His words were lashing that stringy back and legs. Walter was down. I said, sir, will I ever be forgiven for my snouting, for my days of pig-spurting? He said, your days of pig-spurting, said the Lord, cruelly impersonating my accent. He said, what's your problem, boy? He said, you never intruded. He said, you was invited up, weren't you? He said, you charmed them with your books and whatnot. He said, there was nothing demonic about that, actually. He said, who you thought of as Pigspurt? That was you. He said, you allowed your own repressed self to manifest. He said, you must face it, Ken. He said, you are a funny fucker. He said, record, if you will, any of the reactions of your various partners to your cunny sneezers. I said, well, no, that's hysteria, tittering. Exactly so, said the Lord. He said, you was a professor of tickleology. He said, did you know, the Solomon Islanders were into cunny sneezers from the dawning of mankind. Why do you think they wear those feathers in their noses? He said, if I may, I'd like to hint this, that when you got that old lady up and walking, I was not there. What would you make of that statement, Ken? I said, well, what do you mean? There was merely angelic involved, demonic. That was Pigspurt! He disappeared miraculously through the wall. I said, oi! Come back! I said, get back in here! You weren't God! You summoned Kenny, bearded gentleman, now halfway through the wall. I said, take off the beard. The beard came off easily. He now stepped fully into the room. And a curly brim bowler appeared on his head. Captain, I said. Thanks for looking after Dee, he said. I just worked her a few times and went to see her once, I said. But all it takes, said the captain. He said, now listen, he said, that wasn't a theophany. He said, I was posing as God. Celestial espionage, but even that's a cover. He said, I'm part of a bunch who are heretically attached to mankind and life as you know it. We love you, life, but like an old dog. And it's time now to put life out of its misery. You don't want Johnny Div's revelations here. So we are going for a final ingression of novelty. Implosion of the entire multi-dimensional continuum of space and time. The mega-macro cosmos to go down the plug-hole. As the hyperspatial vacuum fluctuations of paired particles, i.e. your universe, collides with its own ghost image after billions of years of separation. Why do you think they all have these irrational feelings of loss? Because nothing is the natural state. Something is perversion. In order to create chronological matter out of the nothing nowhere, the great perverter had to separate forwards from backwards, positive from negative, matter from antimatter. And me and the crew think we can bring the two together and engineer an apocatastasis. Every subatomic particle, except photons, will cancel each other out. The entire universe quietly disappearing up its own bumhole. Merely the whimper that Tommy Elliot spoke of, a little whoa. And only photons will exist, and we will have liberated the universe of light from the iron prison of matter. And all life will find itself walking up the path of the promised garden. This time we trust, demanding full inclusion on the plans for phase 2. I said, Glory, I said, Captain, I said, look, I'm just talking off the top of my head at the moment. I said, look, this is how it sounds to me on this side of the veil. I said, I've got a little daughter now. She's not so little now. She's 14, and I really looked after mine. I said, I like you. I said, just see yours 4 times in a lifetime. And I said, I really like her. I really like her to live on. I want her to live on. I want her to live on and face it, whatever it's going to be. Whether it's going to be in Revelations or what the fuck. Without actually, thank you, sir, your kindness of this apocatastasis. Then book your tickets for Ken Dodd, he said. The first messages will come through on the 1st of January 1993 during the What a Beautiful Day sequence. I said, first or second house? He said, second, but only if you've seen the first. I said, well, yeah, and then I'll wind up in the Solomon Islands. I expect so, he said. Iconoclast of the islands, a comrade in reverse, Lord Ken. He said, Daddy, so damn fine out there, big man chief of Fatwar Island and all that, the time now draweth nigh. For the great smasher of icons, those frozen moments of myth. He said, I speak here of the ethics of cannibalism. Why do you think we sent back the soul of Richard Burton to infest Anthony Hopkins? In order to give the guy the charisma to play Hannibal Lecter. Now you've had Jeffrey Dahmer, some splendid tarts being at it, eating people. It is back, bone up on your Dodd. We'll tell you when we're ready for you in the claim of cannibalism. David's already conquered the Northern Islands, you'll move in at the south. You'll meet up round about Fucker. I said, what, and then I'll have to eat David. See how it goes, he said. And he came forward. He gripped me lovingly by the upper arm. There'll be pies, he said. Excuse me. There is something I must do. And the whole healthyophony, or captophony, as it turned out to be, had lasted a mere nanosecond. The Solomon Islanders embraced Christianity under the impression that they would thereby receive the wealth and the possessions of the white man. When this did not happen for them, they supposed they'd been tricked, that they'd been given cut or censored Bibles with the magic missing. It's now reliably reported that on the islands of Malakula, Erromango and Tofia, that the gags and routines of Kenneth Dodd are regarded as the lost gospels. And if on that 1st of January I get invited to join the priesthood, 'tis with a sense of honour I shall chomp upon the host.
Ken Campbell, The Seekers podcast, was produced and presented by Daisy Campbell and David Bramwell, with kind permission from the Ken Campbell estate. Music was by Horton Jupiter. It was funded by Arts Council England. The disembodied voice of Ken was Jeremy Stockwell.